Thank you very much, everyone. And I realize it's that time of the afternoon where you've actually had lunch, you've had a couple of panels, you've managed to stay up, and it's really, really getting sleepy right now. So feel free to just snooze a little bit. If you have your eyes closed, I realize that you just are listening really hard. But if you have any questions at the end of this, please reach out at any time. Libearea is a venture by SC Ventures, incubated within the Standard Chartered Group and part of the SC Ventures digital asset ecosystem. And we focus around the tokenization of funds and bonds. And the reason why we've picked funds and bonds is also has to do with my background, where I spent just over 20 years or 21 years focused around the capital markets, particularly in the origination of bonds, where I helped sovereigns, financial institutions, and corporates essentially borrow money from the bond markets, and that involves a lot of structuring, a lot of understanding of securities regulations, and putting a lot of that institutional knowledge together with the new rails that blockchain offers is where Libearea intersects. But you see, what we realized in tokenization is that tokenization in general can be actually quite messy and risky, in the sense that there are certain structural and legal and regulatory issues that you may not realize you're being exposed to just because of the way the tokens exist. Again, token technology was born really from cryptocurrency, where there were no regulations, so anything could be anything and was very well appreciated and could work really well. But trying to take that untamed beast and put it within securities regulation isn't as simple to do. And this is what we've been able to do from a Singapore context, because we feel Singapore has the right ecosystem to be able to make this right strategic choice in terms of domiciling an entity or really a house for very compliant and useful, and therefore investor-protected tokens that can come out to your ecosystem. First of all, one of the things that we've realized is that just having a vehicle that is bankruptcy remote isn't necessarily enough to protect investors. Theoretically, it is. But then, in terms of in actuality, what actually happens in a scenario where something goes wrong? One of the things that I try to explain this, I call it the three-box problem, or the three-box structure. One, you could say it's like the FTX box. Don't worry, just give me the money, we'll take care of it. Obviously, we know that that doesn't work. The second one, where a lot of tokenization happens, is in the bankruptcy remote segregated account space, where essentially we're saying, hey, don't worry, I have control over this SPV, but it's an SPV. You know, it's separate, it's segregated from me, and therefore, once something goes wrong, you know, it's not a problem. In fact, you know, we had folks earlier today talking about how, you know, when Lehman went down, the segregated funds of Lehman weren't touched because they were in an SPV. That's correct, because Lehman's assets and liabilities far outscale what they have in those segregated funds. But if you're a $5 million fintech venture with $100 million in a segregated managed account, your creditors are definitely going to want to see what's in there and how this is operated. And therefore, when something does hit the fan, that's 18 to 24 months of lockup of the assets that you have in there. Which is why we focus on the third box, where we say, look, this box is your box. It's not my box, I don't control it, it's your box. I'm just a service provider to that box. And therefore, if you don't like my services, switch me out. If you don't like their services, switch them out. But at the end of the day, the box remains yours, and we feel that is the best way to put RWA in a structure that gives you maximum protection as an investor. Second, we also feel that Singapore has the right ingredients to make sure that institutional grade technology is complemented with best-in-class governance and processes. And this is not just because at Libearea we're kind of forced upon us because we're part of the Standard Chartered Group and we ended up having to answer to a lot more people than a regular fintech is, but also because we're operating in a jurisdiction where Singapore is one of only 8 sovereigns globally with all 3 ratings being AAA. And I'll remind everyone that one of those 8 countries is not the US, right? So, despite what we think, Singapore has one of the highest rated and most safest environments that the rating agencies of the world recognize. Also, it's a neutral and globally trusted jurisdiction, which makes it ideal for people from all over the world, which tokenization is built to serve. It's not built to serve a particular locale, but it's built to serve everyone. It's ideal on that class process and thinking as well. Finally, I think this is a little bit trickier. When we have regulatory clarity that A is B, then everyone thinks it's fine, right? That's what we need. In fact, we hear, especially in the West, around, well, we don't have regulatory clarity, so we don't have this. Oh, now we have regulatory clarity, so it's great. But regulatory clarity and legal precedent are actually quite different. So a legal precedent is something that has been tried and tested over time. So there's a reason why, for example, when we set up the box I was talking to you about, we decided to set it up as a unit trust rather than a variable capital company. Reach out to me at any time afterwards and tell me if you have any questions about this. But the reason why we did it is not because there wasn't regulatory clarity in a VCC structure, but the legal precedents battled over the years through litigations, etc., was much more robust in a unit trust. And this is what we think makes brings the ability to change the game and make RWA much more compliant. So what have we achieved? We've actually been able to make 2 sides of kind of an impossible thing together, bring it together. We've made something that is super interoperable, public chain, natively issued, but also have full investor protection. And therefore, we've created the highest rated tokenized treasury fund for Wellington management. It's AA rated by Moody's, AA plus by S&P, and AA plus by Particular. And it's also on Ethereum, fully transferable and accessible. So thank you very much. I hope you've learned a little bit, and maybe I would like to encourage everyone to reach out to us at any point in time. We're happy to discuss this. There's more to do. This is very nascent. Please reach out, and hopefully we can build a better RWA future together.